stop wasting money on holsters. Today I'm going to show you a bunch of different popular types of holsters, where some of them shine, where some of them fall short, why it's so important to choose a good holster. And so if you have a drawer full of them or you're looking at buying your first one, hopefully this video will lead you in the right direction and show you why, yeah, this decision can be hard because there's so many out there. Hopefully this will simplify the process for you. Now, I'm mainly focused on concealed carry here, but there will be some outside the waistband options, which is why I'm showing you something like this. This is going to represent our like $20 Amazon holster, okay? So we could use this for inside or outside the waistband, but typically your cheap holsters are going to function just like this, all right? This came with the Canik SFX Rival, okay? But you're going to see why this thing sucks here in a minute, right? And so I put it in the gun. It's got a little bit of wibble wobble in there, but I did crank down on the retention. You can tell by the materials that it was cheaply made, okay? They're not going to give you some, $145 holster with for free with your gun purchase, right? But Canik does a good job at least of providing you something, which I still respect, right? You run your belt loops through here. You can kind of adjust these depending on the size of your belt, so it will fit various sizes there as well. Overall, it's decent. This is something I would throw in a range bag and just keep it there, okay? Doesn't really matter. What you'll notice is that it's got enough cutout here. It's got a lot of cutout here, actually. So you can, obviously fit any kind of red dot on here. If you were to chamber this, let's say you were on empty, right? You needed to run it like that. You could still even drop the slide while it's open if you needed to, or swap a mag while the gun's open. All while having the belt on you, having the holster, or having the gun secured, okay? All that's fine and dandy. What you'll see with these types of holsters, and one of the biggest things you want to keep in mind is security. Will the gun fall out? Can the gun be easily taken from me? And the answer to that, at least the second part of that question, is yes. This thing can easily be taken. Somebody comes up behind you, you're not paying attention, whatever. Yoink, they pull the gun, boom, you are now defenseless. These are, like I said, okay for the range, but there are even better options for competition or range shooting, which I'll show you right here. Safariland 6TS. This is one of the most impressive holsters that I've used in a very long time, actually. This thing is a tank, all right? And so it's thermal molded. It's got really solid materials on there. You got kind of the suede on the inside that helps protect your guns that you can see right there, that liner. It's also got an automatic locking system, right? So as soon as you slide the gun in there, it's not coming out unless you know how to use the holster. It's got a thumb brake right here, right? And so by simply pushing that back, you slide the gun straight out. It's also got this piece right here, which will provide additional security for you. So it's not easy to see how to release this thing. Somebody comes behind you and they're like this, you push them off of you and boom, you got access to your gun. It's also got a neat feature right here where you can actually pull this off, right? So you can mount this to a bedside table or something too if you wanted to, and boom, you could just slide this puppy right on and have your duty style holster, competition holster, ready to go even at your bedside. This is a fantastic holster, so if you're looking for something outside the waistband, again, this is $145. The one I just showed you is probably $5. I don't know how cheap, I mean, it came with the gun. I don't know how cheap they are, but they're cheap. 20 bucks. Again, security is a big part of this. You don't want your gun falling out, and you don't want your weapon being used against you. Next thing we'll talk about is concealed carry, but it's pocket carry. And so we got a good holster, we got a cheap holster, right? This is another freebie that came with the LCP Max. It's made of cloth, and overall this is a pretty easy gun to carry. I guess my biggest problem with this is, first of all, there's no place for me to push off. So this is designed to stay in the pocket, kind of grab the inside of your pants with this little strip right here. But still, if that doesn't work, I have no way to push off, and it can be harder to unholster. Another issue I have is the fact that it is cloth. And so it would take significant effort for me to be able to get in there and actually pull that trigger. It's kind of a stretch, okay? But it could happen. You know, you're carrying in your pocket, things end up in your pocket that you don't want them there. Maybe this slides out a little bit, who knows? This, all in all, again, will represent our $20 Amazon holster. I just don't trust this at all. The one I got from Vetter is a Kydex, right? It's kind of curved right there. So when you put this in your pocket, it's going to look like a like a mini tablet almost, okay? So it's designed to kind of give that squared off look so it doesn't look so much like a gun. It's going to kind of hug the inside of your leg right there too, so it's going to be more comfortable. You got a push off point here so we can quickly get the gun out of our pants. And the biggest thing with this one, not only can we get to the gun quickly, but it also is way more secure. Nothing's getting to that trigger guard no matter how hard we try. Now, could it in theory kind of push out like that? Yeah, I guess, because again, there's not much retention. You're just solely dependent upon gravity at this point. It's going to be in your pocket just like this, but I will trust this way more than anything like this right here. So if you're going to pocket carry, this Vetter holster right here has actually been a really good option. And it looks kind of cool too. The next ones we'll talk about inside the waistband, Kydex type of holsters, right? And so we have two profile holsters. We have a Crossbreed holster that has a Kydex shell, and then it's got this suede backing here, so like a mixture of leather, suede material, and Kydex. And then we have an Oath holster from Tolster as well. And so when it comes to these types of holsters, I will typically go with Tolster. And the profile holster is my favorite. So we have adjustable cant right here. So 0 to 15 degrees. So if we want to move this like this, right? Or if we want to move it like this, it will adjust the gun to our liking and to the draw type that we want. We also have adjustable retention right here. So if we want a little bit less retention or a little bit more retention, that's going to provide that for us. It's open down here as well. You have a high sight shield. You have an exposed magazine release. A lot of people don't like this. A lot of people do. I don't have an issue with it. I've never inadvertently hit those magazines, okay? Unless it's like a really touchy magazine release, I've never had that issue. And most of the material that doesn't need to be there is cut away, providing you a super comfortable holster. And so that's why I reach for these, you know, 99 out of 100 times, this is what I'm going to be carrying right here. We've been working with these guys for a long time, and they provide a super secure and comfortable everyday holster setup. Now, because it's inside the waistband, it's concealed, I don't have too much worry about somebody just coming up behind me and snatching my gun unless they know me and they know I'm carrying a gun. You know, there's a lot of variables there. But if somebody were to come up behind you and snatch it, this is assuming they get under your shirt, you know, they get under your jacket or whatever you're wearing for the day, and they're able to pull it out. There is no kind of security here, right? No thumb strap or anything like that, right? So this, again, it's concealed carry. How often would those things happen? Not too often, but it provides security in the fact that it's not going to fall out. So I also have a motorcycle channel, right? And so I'm riding motorcycles weekly, and when I'm carrying my gun, I don't want this thing falling down the highway, you know, at 70 miles an hour. So it provides really good security in that way. It's got a strong clip, 1.5-inch clip right here. You can actually get the soft loops for those as well to provide an additional layer of security, but that thing is so easy to get on, and yet it still is super secure. You have holsters like this Crossbreed right here, right? It's got the double clips, it's got the Kydex shell, and this one does a pretty decent job. It's actually got an MRD right here, which will allow you to adjust retention on the gun itself. You don't necessarily get that real snap into place, but it will provide a good enough job. Again, it's one of the, you know, friction style holsters, right? It's designed to be, you know, comfortable, keeps the gun off your skin. It's got this high sweat shield right here, so no part of the gun is actually going to touch you. And the only thing I can say with this is it's a little bit looser fit, right? You do have kind of a push-off point right there on the top there if you want that, but really you don't need it. And so with the way the double clips are designed, this will always kind of get in the way, okay? And so that's why I typically will go to a single clip design if I want to carry, you know, a holster kind of like this, I guess, you know. But I also don't really like material on my skin that much. It's just not something I'm into. It makes me sweat, I get hot, I don't like it. And so that's why I will not typically reach for something like this unless I'm just trying it out. One thing you'll notice with these holsters that have the extra material here, when it's not cut out, it makes getting a full grip straight from the draw more difficult. Okay, so you have to contend with that. And so this is one of the reasons that I don't necessarily care for this type of holster. Not only the draw, but when you get it back in, it's got that hard, you know, harder shell, but it tends to collapse. So you got to work your gun back in there almost at an angle, right? Because if I just try to straight put it down, it's not going to go. So I got to kind of work it back towards my leg and then down to be able to open it back up. It does conceal pretty well though, which is nice. And I can get a fairly decent draw on it. By the way, Crossbreed is a super respected company in holsters. So I'm not trying to say anything bad about them, but this specific design, not my favorite. This one right here is a Holster Oath. So you can see it doesn't have the full sweat shield right here, but it's cut out enough there so we can run a gun with our optics on it. It still has a high sight shield. It's got their mod wing right here, which is designed to push the grip of the gun into you a little bit more, enhancing the concealment of this. It's got multi-stage retention. It's got their super strong clip right here. It's practically unbreakable. So this single clip right here, first of all, you only have to deal with one of them. Second of all, this thing is not going anywhere. It's got a little hook on the back side there as well. So when it comes to holsters with clips on them, I like this because, again, they shave away all of that material that doesn't need to be there, but you still have enough material here to provide a solid retention inside the waistband. This thing is pretty awesome. Now, again, I'm not a huge fan of just straight up leather holsters, but this one from We The People is not a bad option as well. You have some adjustability points right here. You have these clips right here that has a clip underneath, so it's going to provide a strong, secure anchor point to your belt. They cut away a decent amount of material. So yeah, it's a lot more than what some of the ones I just showed you from Holster, but still it's not a ton of extra material, right? You can see you kind of have a mid sweat shield here, and you can use it with guns with red dots on it, right? Biggest issue here is the retention, right? So again, we're kind of dependent upon gravity. It's formed to the gun, and it's not a bad fit. But overall, you know, and I've done this before, it's going to be pretty decent, but after a little bit of shaking, it will eventually slide out of there. It's got nice material on the inside, so it's going to protect your gun. So if you're concerned with slide wear, this may be a good option. You're going to get a little bit of slide wear with any holster after enough draws. It's going to happen, but some of these companies have figured out ways to prevent that. For example, Holster, the way they design their guns is they want, obviously, the retention to be in the trigger guard, not anywhere else on the gun. So they provide a relatively low friction point on the firearm. So it's a good design. So it's not like it's just like so tight that you can't get it out of there and it's going to scratch up your gun each and every time you draw, but you will get some holster wear with practically every type of holster out there on the market. But if you want a leather holster, this is a pretty decent option, and it's relatively secure, but again, very little retention on the inside of the gun. So if you're just, I don't know, just going out for the day, you're not, you're not going on a jog, or you're not riding your motorcycle, or, anything like that. If you're not on duty, you're not running around at the range, this can be an okay option as well. You have ones like the LockLeather right here, okay? This actually has a retention piece on the inside. So it's not going to be as much retention as something like our Tolster holster, but it still does a pretty decent job, and it's a small overall design. So if you're a fan of leather holsters, again, this is a pretty good option as well. We got a single clip right here, super strong. As you can see, you got a little indexing point right here, so you can get that thing up over your belt, so it's going to be easy to be able to be put on. High sweat shield right here. It's actually reinforced there as well where that clip is attached. So again, leather holsters, not something I typically reach for, but if you want one like that and you want a decent setup, like, this one right here, I'm just trying to grab the edge right there so I don't, it's got more retention and is going to allow more movement than something like this. So I showed you some outside the waistband holsters, that are used for duty and, open carry. Here's a concealed carry holster that you can use that can be worn outside the waistband. This is the Tolster Contour. You may be starting to get the point here. Tolster is my company of choice. So I've had a lot of new people join the channel recently, and they asked me, hey, what holster are you using? And so that's 99% of the time, this is what I'm going to be using, is a Tolster holster of some kind. The way they've designed it, it kind of curves and hugs your body, even though it is outside the waistband. We have adjustable retention right here, and we have a little bit of adjustability in our ride height as well. Again, it's an outside the waistband holster with dual fixed loops right here, but they cut away the material that doesn't need to be there. One thing to pay attention to is the cutout here. Crossbreed did a pretty decent job, but when you compare that to the Tolster, they actually cut out more in here. And so what happens when you go to draw, right, here I have a full grip, boom, I can pull the gun out. You can overcome this stuff. It's not like it's impossible, but this is why I like to make these videos, to point this stuff out. Here, I cannot. See the gap I have right there? So I'm not able to choke up on the gun fully. So a lot of times when I'm drawing from this one, I'll actually just put my finger behind the slide and draw out like that. I like the ability to be able to get a full purchase. If I try to do it here, because that material again is in the way, pull it out and you see how much of a gap there actually is in here, so then I got to readjust. We have a cutout here so we can run our optics, and you can see you have that mid sweat shield right there. Again, if I want to holster this gun, if I want to do a mag swap, pull the mag out of the gun. I went to go reach for a mag. This one doesn't have one. Now it does. Boom. We holster the gun, right? It's on us. It's safe. It's secure. We load it up. We chamber around. Boom. We top this off, pop it back in the mag, and it's safe the whole time. So that's a good outside the waistband holster option that you can easily conceal, because when you look at the overall height of this, it's something, if you have a long enough shirt or even a jacket or something, this is a good wintertime option as well. It's something that can easily conceal and is going to be typically more comfortable than inside the waistband. Here's one that a lot of people didn't like. This is the Urban Carry. This is their G3. And so I really like this for small guns in certain situations, okay? The P365 is too big for me with this setup, okay? And so essentially how it works is there is your clip. That's going to hook to your pants, right? It's going to slide down just like that. And then this magnetic strip is going to close like that. This one for the LCP Max is actually a good option. And again, it's got a little retainer in here. So it does a good job of keeping the gun in place. We will slide this down. Boom. And so that's all you see. that little pouch. You don't even see it when I throw my shirt over it. I used to wear this at work when I, had to tuck in my shirt and all that, and that's all you saw right there. And so if I need to get to this, boom, gun's right there. It's actually a pretty decent option. And again, I know a lot of people didn't like it, but man, I really like it for certain situations. It's not something I carry every day, but you can see, I mean, you can barely see that, and it's pretty comfortable, man, when you get used to it, and it's pretty fast as well to get access. So to wrap this whole thing up, you want good retention, obviously for your purposes as you're moving around, if you're on duty, if you're riding a motorcycle, if you're super active, you want it for that reason as well. The big thing with concealed carry, obviously, is that people aren't going to see your gun. And so we don't have to worry as much as an officer that's on duty that has his gun exposed to or even somebody that's open carrying, okay? That gun is exposed. And so if you're going to open carry, have something with really good retention and something where you have to have an extra step to be able to get that gun so it's not used against you. Quality materials, and I want as little material as possible, and I like this type of material here, like your Kydex style, because it doesn't cause me to sweat. So again, that's up to each individual person, but this is the type of material that I like right here. And that's it, man. If you like this video, maybe you'll like one of the other ones. I'll leave a card for y'all up at the top. If you like what I do, consider subscribing, and you can join the channel too, which would be pretty awesome. See y'all in the next one, and as always, hold 'em down.